These are my 5 most interesting teams heading into the NBA draft, which is happening next week. We're going to break it all down. Let's get it. What is up, everybody? We got a different kind of video happening today. These are like I said in the intro, I've got 5 most interesting teams going into the NBA draft and kind of what I think they could do. There's a bunch of options, obviously. So let's just get straight into it. My first team is the San Antonio Spurs. And the reason for that is they obviously have 2 picks in the lottery. They are picking at number 2 and they're picking at number 14. And there's been talks in the past 2 weeks about whether, actually more like a month, about whether the Spurs would like to trade this pick and package them maybe to go get a Giannis or maybe to get a Kevin Durant. It would probably just be 14, not 2. But do they want to go get a star, or do they just sit back and do they take the best available? And that's kind of what I'm interested in, because let's look at the first scenario. And the first scenario is going and trading for Giannis. And you're putting Giannis with a guy like Wemby in a win-now scenario that puts you, in my opinion, the second best team in the West, constructed-wise. I mean, De'Aaron Fox, Giannis, and Wemby is an incredible trio. There's no... that's the scariest team in the West. Scariest team in the league. So, you can do that, or you can go trade for Kevin Durant. That's another option. And this would cost you less. You would probably be able to keep your number 2 pick. You would be able to keep more of your young pieces. So maybe that means that Castle would get to stay. Or that would mean that Jeremy Sohan gets to stay. There's a bunch of different things that could happen with the KD trade where you don't give up all the young talent and all the picks. Whereas the Giannis trade, you're giving up a lot, but you're getting one of the best players in the NBA. So there's a bunch of things there that they could either, trade for the star, or in my opinion, what they should do, don't do anything at all. And that's okay. If you're the San Antonio Spurs and you're San Antonio Spurs fans, it's okay to not do anything. You are developing the young talent. And once that young talent is fully developed, I promise you, it is going to be an incredible, incredible team. And that's kind of it. In my opinion, you have to just develop the young talent, because we're seeing in the finals right now with OKC and Indiana how when they developed and they built their team around their guy, which for the Spurs that would be Wemby, you can get to that promised land. You can get to the NBA finals. You don't have to just make this big spring trade. So in my opinion, what the Spurs should do, they take Dylan Harper at 2. You take best available. Dylan Harper's my favorite prospect in the entire draft behind Cooper Flagg. You take Dylan Harper at 2. You don't overthink it, whether he cares about coming off the bench or not. You don't care. You take best available. And at 14, if you want to trade that pick and maybe get some more veteran leadership in, I'm okay with that. But let's not just go throw all our picks in, right? Let's just let our young talent develop. So that's what I think the Spurs should do, but they are an interesting team for sure. Next team, it's the Philadelphia 76ers. And the reasoning for that is, I don't really know what they're going to do at number 3. They moved up in the draft, obviously. San Antonio and Dallas did too. Dallas is not an interesting team because they're going to take Cooper Flagg, and they're going to be pretty good, I think. But the 76ers, do you want to develop an Ace Bailey or a VJ Edgecombe? Because those, in my opinion, would be the 2 guys kind of going at 3 right now, which I would be okay with. Do you want to develop those guys? Because those are the 2 guys that take the most developing but have some of the biggest upsides. So do you feel like you're in the right scenario to be able to do that right now if you're the 76ers and Daryl Morey in the front office? Do you think that that's the direction you want to head in with Tyrese Maxey, in my opinion, hitting his prime? Joel Embiid, we have no clue what's going to happen with him. You still got Paul George on this roster. It's just a weird roster and a weird situation to be in at 3, because when Cooper Flagg and Dylan Harper are gone, there's not as many play-now guys that you could plug in, or you could go trade this pick, and you could get, role players, because most likely they wouldn't go trade for a star, because it's Paul George, Joel Embiid, and Tyrese Maxey already. You would go trade for, Cam Johnson would be a good example, and maybe that wouldn't take the 3rd pick. You can get Cam Johnson and, Claxton. Maybe you could get both. There's just a bunch of things, different scenarios that if Philly does trade this pick, You got to deal with some money things, and I'm always in favor of drafting. And I think Philly's in a weird spot because they're not in the rebuilding phase at all. And like San Antonio is kind of at the end of the rebuilding phase, but they're still in it, I would say. So they're in a weird spot because they don't want to rebuild. They want to win now. So it's tough. And then you could also go play ready in the draft. Like, in my opinion, Trey Johnson's the third best prospect in this entire draft. I think Trey Johnson would immediately come in and be great for the Sixers. We got to remember that Jared McCain's going to come back next year, and in my opinion, he might win Rookie of the Year. Never know. It's going to be a loaded rookie class next year. Loaded. So you could take Trey Johnson, who I think is ready to come in right now. You could go Ace Bailey or VJ Edgecombe. Or you could trade it and get more role players. I don't know what Philly's going to do. They're definitely one of the most interesting teams because I just have no clue. I know San Antonio's options. I don't even know all of Philly's options. So the third team is the Brooklyn Nets. And the reason for that is they have 4 first-round picks in the first round. They have 4 first-round picks this year. They pick at 8. They pick at 19, they pick at 26 and 27. And I think there's 2 options for them. Either you take all the rookies, right, and you keep developing these rookies that you're going to take at these 4 picks. Or you bundle all those picks together and you trade up in the draft to get a higher pick like top 5, and maybe you can get your hands on an Ace Bailey or a VJ Edgecombe or someone who's not at the end who is looking like it could be like a Kasparis Jonas, who is a dog, by the way, but he's not on the level of Ace Bailey and Edgecombe. You could get like a Kamal Malach, and you could sit him next to Claxton, which I think would be an incredible defensive duo down there at 8. Or you could take a little swing and try to trade up, which I think Brooklyn will be looking to do because I don't think they're going to pick 4 rookies, right? Like, it just doesn't seem like that's what the Nets want to do. Maybe it is, and if they get a hit on every single one, it's going to look like they're the smartest ever. But that's very hard to do with 4 first-round picks. Not everyone's going to be a hit, right? You might get one, and most likely you'll get it at 8. But 26 and 27, you're probably not going to be able to find gems back-to-back down there at the end of the first round. So Nets are in an interesting scenario just because they have so many picks in the first round. My number 4 is the Pelicans, which if like some of my friends are watching, they're Pelicans fans, and this is an interesting spot because I don't know who you draft. And it's not that there's a question about like trading the pick away and moving down. It's a question of who's there. Like, who's at 7 that helps the Pelicans win now? Because the Pelicans are still in win now mode. They just had a ton of injuries last year, and that's why they were, one of the worst teams in the NBA. One of the worst teams, like, by far. And, they fall down to 7 in the lottery, and now you're in a situation where, hey, there might be like a Jeremiah Fears on the board. There's a Derek Queen on the board. Malach could be on the board. But, like, you wanted Cooper Flagg, and you're not getting Cooper Flagg. So, do you think about trading up to maybe with San Antonio at 2 and getting your point guard of the future in Dylan Harper? There's a bunch of things that the Pelicans could do, but it's not a question of trading the pick and moving out of the draft. It's moving up, or who do you take? Because I don't know what the Pelicans are going to do at 7. I don't know who the pick is. I will most likely, if I had to put a bet on it, it'd be Jeremiah Fears or Derek Queen. That would be the 2 guys. If I had to put a bet on it right now, that's who I think would be going to New Orleans. I think Jeremiah Fears would do a incredible job in New Orleans. He would take that CJ McCollum role. I think he'd fill it perfectly. Derek Queen is one of my most underrated prospects in this year's draft. His playmaking, his footwork is elite. He would be really good to add some center depth to New Orleans, so that could be a possibility. But I don't know what you do if you're New Orleans. And that's a similar thing with like the Sixers. I don't know what you're going to do at 3. But the difference is the Sixers would rather move back while the Pelicans would move up. So maybe that could be a trade. You never know. It's just a weird situation that both those teams are in that they didn't think they would be in before the lottery happened. And then the last team, I kind of was trying to I was looking through, and the top 4 were pretty easy for me, like those teams. And then I looked through kind of the draft order and the prospects, and I ended up going to the Atlanta Hawks as one of my most interesting teams. And the reason for that, they got to get this pick right, man, because they look like they want to stick with Trae Young, and they're starting to build around him. This roster is really fun. And Jalen Johnson gets hurt last year. He was on pace to be an all-star at the beginning of the year. He gets hurt, goes down. Obviously, wasn't an all-star, didn't have a great second half of the year. You've got a fun team around Trae Young, and it looks like they had the first pick last year and not a great draft class. Risha Shea looks really good, though, by the way. You got to take a good pick here. And they picked twice in the first round. They picked at 13 and 22. So There will be guys there, but the question is, do you go for upside and a high ceiling, or do you go for kind of a high floor and veteran college guys that can come in and play now? That's the question, because you took a swing on Shea. He looks like he's developing quicker than you think. So maybe you take veterans. Maybe a Neat Clifford there at 13, or maybe even at 22 if he's still there, could be a really, really good guy. So I think that Atlanta will go for veteran guys who've been in college for a while. Walter Clayton could be a sleeper pick. Most likely, I don't think they go another guard because he plays too much like Trae Young. So there's a lot of questions on what the Hawks could do. And that's really it. I wanted to kind of put this video out and get some draft stuff going. There will be other videos coming out for sure. I'm going on a trip next week, which I said in the last video. So there won't be videos coming out that week. I said there could be some pre-recorded stuff that can come out, so I don't really know. But besides that, I appreciate y'all for watching. Peace.